You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
This week's episode welcomes a business development expert with over 40 years of strategic planning, sales, and marketing expertise. Jannette Anderson joins us. She is the business development expert at Positive Results. Jannette, how are you? Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm super happy to be here, and I'm super excited just about the day because I'm doing some interesting stuff.
That's the energy I like to see. We always welcome our guests on. So excited. We had a chat earlier before talking 30 minutes just about life and business, what we're going through. But we always like to ask about your entrepreneurial journey. What were you doing before and how did that lead you into what you're doing today?
Okay, I'm going to give you the real long journey, but I'll make it short, okay? I think I came out of the womb with a briefcase in hand, which my mom didn't appreciate. I've been entrepreneurial my whole life. When I was 5, I really wanted the book Heidi. I grew up really rough, lots of challenges and addictions and violence and so forth. And so books became my refuge. And I wanted this book Heidi. I have no idea why. And I begged my mom and begged her and begged her and begged her. And she finally turned around after several weeks and said, "No, you can't afford it." I was really shocked, Chris. It wasn't Chris because of what she said. It was because of the look on her face, a look of shame and frustration and sadness and despair and anger at having to say no to something that might have been $1 or less. And I remember deciding at 5 years old that I would never wanted to see that look on someone's face again. Now, as kids, we don't overcomplicate things, right? We problem solution. And so I heard that and I went, "Oh, no money? Well, go get money." So I have my first business, or as I called it, business. And I decided I was going to have a garage sale to make money. I'd seen someone in our housing tenement do that. So one day when mom was at work, I dragged everything I could carry out of the house and priced it because, like I said, I could count money before I could talk. And so I priced it all. And I had a very successful garage sale. I remember running up to her when she came home at the end of the day, super excited. I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can tell you that day I made $13.72, which was a lot of money for a 5-year-old in 1965. So I was like, look, now can we get the book? Right? Problem, solution. Ha. She didn't see it that way. She was really bad. So I got spanked. She took my money. I had to go back and buy back all the knickknacks and household items that I sold. The kids wouldn't sell me back my toys. So I lost most of my toys. And I didn't at least initially get the book. So many people would say that's not a very good for business example, not very successful. But I actually think it was because I learned 2 really important things. 3 really. One is don't go into business with family. Kind of semi-kidding about that, but not really. The second thing is we really can take our destiny into our own hands as entrepreneurs. We can create a yes life instead of that no life if we're willing to really do the work to work on our purpose. I believe that purpose-led business often is much more meaningful and profitable in many ways, every meaning of the word. And so those were the 2 things I learned, that entrepreneurship was like a great solution for a lot of problems, including self-expression, including being able to be, do, and have what I want. And that you want to make sure you're careful about who you go into business with. But I also really learned that I could create the results I was looking for. So just in case your people are wondering, I did eventually get the book and it remains my favorite book to this day. So that was my first business. My first franchise was my lemonade stand when I was 7. And I put other kids on the corner with the other TV trays from our set them up, and we split the profits 50-50. They did the work and I provided the product. My first business with an employee was a daycare center I ran in our housing tenement when I was 11 and he was 9. He was a 9-year-old I used to babysit. Paid him $1 an hour and charged $3 per kid for the day. Fed him peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day all summer for kids. And so I've been entrepreneurial ever since then because, like I said, I grew up poor. So I needed to pay for my own schooling and clothing and everything. And in many cases, like I started working in a cocktail lounge when I was 12, serving drinks and stuff so that I could help pay for rent and food and so on. So the entrepreneurial journey has been long, has been tumultuous, but I am still stupidly in love with it. I still love working with clients to turn what their purpose and their passion is into something that profits them and other people. kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but that's my journey. Like I said to you before, I've had my aberrant periods where I've forgotten and gone back into the corporate world. And after about 2 years, I go, don't, I remember why I hate this. I go back out and start my business again. I've had 4 different iterations of my marketing and business growth company and don't plan to stop anytime soon. I am now focused on maturepreneurs, creating a whole movement around that. And that's my latest version of my passion of helping people really create what they want to contribute and to be from their business.
That is an incredible story. It really highlights that the debate between nature versus nurture, born with a briefcase in her hand, it's something that I feel there's just something different about entrepreneurs. We're just not fitting into the mold of the corporate lifestyle. We want to do things our own way, march to the beat of our own drum. And for those interested, $13 to a 5-year-old is a lot, but in 1965, move that to today, that's worth $130. So that is quite the return. However, she was selling, I'm sure, many valuables of the family that they would have preferred to have kept.
My mom's brand new dress that still had the $40 tag on that I sold for $4. It was just a number of zeros, but I didn't get what she was sad.
Hey, these things happen, but quite the journey. You're finding your market, how your services best fit you and serve the community as well. Something that we all kind of figure out as we go along in business and we pivot, we change, we see new opportunities. Why is this the matching the purpose with the profit? Why does it matter for people? Some people get into business just because it's an opportunity. They're not passionate about it, but they're making good money versus someone who could be doing it with the good of their heart and they're great at it, but they're not really gaining any traction. How do we kind of merge those two together to make a more successful entrepreneur and, like you say, a maturepreneur?
Well, I certainly have a bias. Let me put it that way. Also, the other half of my life is facilitating personal development workshops, teaching coaching certification programs, what I call the inner work, lifting the anchors of limiting beliefs so that we can move forward in our life. So my specialty is getting the 4 inches between your ears working so the business can work. I think meaning matters a lot. I think that knowing our why we do what we do and being able to articulate it in a way that then can direct our strategy, can get us out of bed in the morning, can differentiate us in the marketplace because people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. I'm borrowing that from my friend of mine, Simon Sinek, but I think it's very true, especially now. There's a million people who do what you do. COVID made this a very universal global market. And there are so many people who do what you do. So why should I buy you versus everyone else? Well, your why. Either I'm going to resonate with it or I'm not. Now, my definition of your why, it's not what you do. Most people think that that's their purpose is that they're a caregiver or that they're whatever they are. I think your why is the intersection of what you're healing from the past and what you long for the future for yourself and others. So what you're healing from the past and what you long for the future. And when we know what that is, when we heal that past wound or core wounds and limiting beliefs and so forth, we're freer to move forward. When we follow the path of our longing, or in often say our pleasure, that puts us on the path of our purpose. And I think we're more fulfilled, happier human beings. Frankly, you can't be successful no matter how much money you make if you're not fulfilled, happy, have good relationships, if you're not a whole human being. And so meaning matters a lot. And particularly as we get older, there's, I think, 3 major times where we do the navel gazing of what's my purpose and what's it all about and all that. And when we're teenagers, typically we have that angst ridden, oh my God, what's my purpose in life? I have to go find it. And then middle age, I have a great life. How come I'm not happy? Version of that. Or I have a shitty life. How come? Version of that in kind of midlife, somewhere we're at our unhappiest between 35 and 55. And so in there somewhere, there comes that point where it's just something's got to give, something's got to change. And it's one of the hardest ones to break out of because we are so in the whole, this is how you do life, expectation, obligation, and shoulds. And then late in life, who am I now that I'm not the roles I've been my whole life? Who am I now that I'm not the CEO or the stay-at-home mom or the whatever it is that you've been your whole life. That can be a very challenging period, but it's also this wonderful opportunity to expand into who you are, which is so much more than the roles been fulfilled.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so I think meaning, why, our purpose is critical to not only being happy, but also really smart to know so you can differentiate your business because people buy why you do what you do, what you do.
I definitely agree. Business is all about people. It's the communication, the feeling that they get. They like working with an individual, supporting that person and their vision if it applies. Humans, I feel, are wired to crave comfort. We like things that are comfortable, things that are new or that would make us progress are different, therefore make us uncomfortable. And that intersection you talk about where it's the past you and I don't want to be that person anymore and I want something different. And they just need that direction, that clarity to kind of figure it out. Where am I going? What am I going to do next?
Well, and Chris, one of your questions was, so how do we do that? And that's really challenging because for most of us, kind of right on the end of our nose, and we can't see it. It's too close. So we need someone that can help us pull it back so that we can get an objective perspective on what that might be. And so, really, what I encourage people to do is to find someone who's good at listening for longing. And that's not an easy skill. That's not a skill everyone has. Because I think our longing really takes us to where we are most aligned with purpose, with who we really want to be. And so, if you can get quiet and listen for your own longing, great. For some, there's that intersection between that and what God, spirit, universe is calling you to, whatever your frame of reference is. And I think that that longing is part of that conversation, part of that experience, part of that relationship. And when we really can tap into it or have someone support us in tapping into it, it can be really gratifying, but it can also be challenging to figure out, how do I monetize that? What's the business model that goes with that longing? How do you bridge that gap? And that's where you often need someone who can help you with bridging that gap because that's not always easy. So, just a couple of quick little tips for how you can start to kind of tap into what matters to you. One is, what do you rant about? And if you think you don't rant or get on a soapbox, just ask your friends and family. They'll tell you. Because there's something that you consistently bugs you that you want to fix or you wish wasn't that way. That's one clue to what it is you want to be the solution in the world. Another one to access is, if you had a magic wand and you could just wave it, what would you change about you or other people or the world? Another way to access that. That tends to give you an indication of what you long for more of, what you wish you had instead. Another thing to look at is, what were some significant events that happened when you were little, typically before 7, if you can remember, that were significant to you, typically challenging or traumatic or difficult, but it might have been big or small, but it was significant. If you looked at the event and the feelings that that little boy or girl had, what was the story they made up? Because in the path of that story, first of all, you're going to see what you need to heal and what the path is. Like, I call it the week behind the boat. But you're also going to get a clue as to what this person really wants or what they want to fix or whatever. So there's lots of different access points that you can do on your own. Some of those exercises will give you clues. Write it out, step back, then look at it as if you're looking at someone else's answers. What do you know about this person? What do they care about? What matters to them? That'll start to give you some clues as to your why. When you know your why, you can use it and describe it so that people get who you are and whether or not they want to work with you, whether or not, that resonates with them.
Yes, absolutely. That is some absolutely great advice. When you mentioned something about rants and what you're passionate about, is there a support group for people who don't use their turn signal? Because that just annoys the crap out of me. I can't take it anymore. I'm just like, let me know your intentions. What are you doing? Let me avoid you.
Okay. Well, and if I was playing with you, I would say, okay, what's underneath the need to know people's intentions? What's not safe about not knowing their intentions? What's the safety you want to provide to others about that clarity? That's going to get you to the end of the thread. So for me, one of my rants is people, it's quite somewhat similar, who leave their cart in the middle of the aisle in Safeway or Fry's or wherever.
That was my second one.
And it's like,
People who stand in doorways. What are you doing?
yeah, you're not the only person on the planet, dude. Could you please get the hell out of the way? Right. And so when I dig down on that, what pisses me off about that is they're not considering other people. Why do I worry about that? Why does that matter? Because people who don't consider other people can inadvertently hurt them, or intentionally. Sometimes they aren't safe to be around. And so having grown up with lots of lack of safety and so forth, it also reinforces that they don't care about me. And my why is that I want you to get that you matter and live like you do. And the reason that that matters to me is because I wanted to matter my whole life. I wanted to get on the list. Never mind couple list. I just want to get on the dem. And so people who don't care about me poke that. And that's the story I'm making up about it, right? It's just a cart in the middle of the aisle. It's got nothing to do with reality. But that's the story I make up. And I make up that story because it ties into me, to my I don't matter. Right. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of an example of how you follow that thread down to the end to get what it really means to be your why, or to have your why.
I think that's really smart. For me, I feel like those people are suffering from a lack of self-awareness, and we can't even make them aware that their
Right.
lack of it is affecting us in this way because they probably wouldn't care. So unfortunately, we may not be able to monetize it, but it's something that we can be very passionate about.
Right. Well, the lack of self awareness, again, that the question is, why does that matter? Why is that a problem? So what? And it's the answer to the so what that will give you the clue as to what you want to fix or what you want to change. And that will give you the thing that when you're on the path of solving that problem in some way in the world, then you're going to be at your happiest. So mine is kind of, some people would say, well, how do you monetize? I want you to get that you matter and live like you do. Well, if I'm teaching a course, facilitating a personal development course, doing coaching, the heart of it is you getting your value. That has always been the theme in the work that I do, so that you can articulate it, be valued for that, and get paid for it. Right. If you don't get the value you provide, not your inherent value as a human being, but the value you provide, then you're not going to make money because no one else is going to get it. And so for me, there's a direct correlation between that, but you got to know what the end of the thread is.
Yes, absolutely. We always try to reverse engineer what is your end goal. A client may come to us and state some problems or what they think is going wrong. And through some discovery and in depth conversation, we realize there's a different issue, or this is the reason to explain what's going on. So it's something that definitely needs more attention, someone with expertise to dive deeper into so that way they can give some more clarity and direction for what they're looking for. Now, Jannette, where can people connect with you online and find out more about you?
Oh, thank you. The maturepreneur.world. So mature as in wise, and preneur as in the last half of entrepreneur, dot world, not dot com, but dot world, because we have a whole world. And so go there. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and the Maturepreneur World Facebook community, and Jannette Anderson on LinkedIn and Facebook. I am the Maturepreneur Maverick. You can find me on YouTube and just look for that word. You'll find me. There's a few others who use it, but I'm like working on getting all over that in social media. So find me there. I would love to offer your people who are listening to this, because we've been talking about it and it stirred up my juices around it. Probably the last complimentary what's my why calls that I am ever doing. I literally on my list today is create the copy for the paid What's My Why sessions. So I'll give you a link for where they can go. And what we do in those sessions is some of those exercises and other things to articulate what is your why and how do you apply that in terms of your business positioning and your marketing and your sales conversations. How do you really take that meaningful thing to you and put it into the world so that people can really connect with you? Because as you know, Chris, from how you approach marketing, which I think is so I hate to use the word authentic because it's so overused, but it really is applicable here. That's your style. People just really want to connect with human being to human being. Not all the rhetoric, not all the AI jargon, but tell me what you care about, and then I'll decide whether or not I care about you.
Absolutely. Very well said. And we appreciate you sharing the offer. We'll have links available in the show notes and the description so you can get connected with Jannette Anderson here. Jannette, if you could go back in time and tell your younger entrepreneurial self a piece of advice that would help you, that you think might help others, what would you say to yourself?
So many things, but I would say right now it's coming forward. The strongest is, and I hate this, but it's true. Confidence trumps competence. I spent a lot of time becoming really good at what I do, being an expert, reading the books, taking the courses, taking the accreditation. And many of my clients have modality after, accreditation. But if they don't have the confidence to get out there to say, I can help you and here's how, then those gifts don't get given to the world. And so work as hard, if not harder, on claiming your value. I'm not talking about, blowing sunshine up people's spirits. I'm talking about being genuinely grounded in how you can serve and make a difference so that you can make the difference that only you can make in the world.
That is beautiful. Jannette, we appreciate you coming on. Is there any other imparting wisdom you'd like to share with us? Anything? This is just an open floor for you to say anything you want before we wrap up.
Okay, well, I'm going to say this too. I have no idea why. I've been working predominantly with women for the past decade. I'm now working with maturepreneurs, both men and women. And what I would say, and this is an indication of the course I'm in right now, but I would say, for the love of God, grab life by the ovaries and go for it. It's similar to the last comment I made, but I call it, my business brand used to be and still is, to some degree, bodacity, which is a combination of bold and audacious. And what I advocate is that I don't care how much IQ you have or EQ, emotional intelligence. If you don't have BQ, bodacity quotient, the willingness to take action even when you're scared, the willingness to actually show up, stand up and say, here's who I am and here's what I can do, then you won't make a difference in the world, or you won't make as much of a difference as you can. So work on upping your BQ, your bodacity quotient. And that's your ability to grab life by the ovaries and go for it.
I love that because not only is it great advice, but it encourages people to take action. They need to move forward if they want to see any result. It's all about that action. Jannette, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. For those who want to get connected, we'll have the links available down in the show notes, and we'll have you on for a part two, maybe in a year or so, once everything has blown up and we can extract more
Awesome.
advice from you.
Awesome. And then I'll tell you all about how to create a global movement.
And we'll be sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere. We'll just be
I
enjoying
know.
and appreciating life.
Thank you
Uh,
so much. Thank you, Chris, for creating a platform for not only educating and supporting the listeners, but providing a place for people to be seen and heard. Your commitment to marketing and to supporting people and being seen and heard is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gift. So thank you for that.
Jeanette, you're amazing. Thank you for your kind words. That was so sweet of you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.